Hello there, tattoo boys and girls. This is the Tattoo Genius coming to you with the first of many episodes about tattooing. As described in the first video, I'm going to introduce you into some of the parts of tattooing that I was introduced to when I first started doing this. Today we're going to be discussing tubes, tattoo machine tubes. Okay. Now, when I first started tattooing, this was the Bible, Spalding and Rogers Tattoo Supplies. We also had national tattoo supplies, but you did have to be a national member in those days to be able to order from them. So, most tattoo artist sources were from Spalding and Rogers. This cover was actually done by an artist named Don Nolan, who was a great tattoo idol, and should be highly revered. Now, tattoo machine tubes have taken a wide change in tattooing, from the size of them, to the needle configurations, to the storage of them. So what we're going to start with here, this is called a tattoo machine rack. It's a tube rack. It actually contained test tubes with a cotton ball and a solution of benzoclonium chloride in the bottom of them. Now, the way we would traditionally do these is we would sterilize the needle and tube together and then drop the needle and tube down into the test tube, which has cotton in the bottom of it and the benzol inside of it. Now, the benzol is a rust inhibitor, and it would also keep things sterile that had been sterilized in an autoclave sterilizer. We'll go over the sterilization techniques, and I'll pull out my old Dynaclave here to show to you in another episode, but that's for a later date. So this is how this was actually considered to be called wet storage. As you can see, there's many in this rack, so we would keep many on hand in order to service many customers out, in between sterilization times. So the first tubes that we actually used were called pencil grips. This was a little 1/2-inch grip that was soldered onto a main tube. Hence, like this one, I've got this one apart. This is what the tube looked like originally, made out of stainless steel. Probably 304 grade stainless, which was anti-corrosion, anti-rust. But these here were actually soldered onto this tube here. This is a removable grip that was used. This removable grip is slightly larger than the pencil grip. This is another example. This is a 5/8 grip. Now, when I started using a 5/8 grip, my co-workers and the other people that I were around, now remember, I've been tattooing since 1980. So between 1950 and the late 80s, early 90s, nothing had really changed in tattooing too much. So this here was considered to be a travesty. I mean, when someone seen you using one of these grips compared to the pencil grips, you were out of it, man. You didn't know what was going on because you didn't need that bigger one to control that machine. Well, really, you did. And people learned this over time, until all the way they went from the 5/8 grips all the way through 3/4 grips, 7/8 grips, until we finally got down to a company who was making these. Now, you notice these are all stainless steel. These are all ultrasonically cleaned and autoclave sterilized. But now we got down to these real big grips. Now, they say you're supposed to use them like this, but I didn't find that comfortable. So I spun mine around, and I found it to be a very ergonomic grip. Very heavy, made of solid stainless steel. Used these for years and years. Now, unfortunately, Spalding and Rogers Corporation actually came out with a grip that was made of Delrin that could be re-sterilized. You should see some of the things in this catalog. They're absolutely funny. Unfortunately, I do not have that Delrin, and this catalog does not have it in it. But the Delrin was the first disposable plastic tubes. Now they came unsterilized, and you could sterilize them once. After one sterilization, they would become brittle and they would fall apart, which is why I don't have it anymore. It's probably broken over this time in years. But we went from the wet storage, and then we actually moved up to a dry storage, which this bag is quite old. I've had it for a long time. This needle grouping will never be used. It's just something that I've kept over time. This is a Defend sterilization pouch. So you would drop the needle and tube into it, seal the back of it, put it in the autoclave. When it was properly sterilized, this little Defend logo, it's pink when you first start, then it would turn green to brown to black depending on the company that made the sterilization pouch. The first production disposable tubes were done like this. Now this expired a long time ago, so naturally I would not use it, but this was a solid one-piece plastic tube. Heavy vibration. They were nice because they were disposable, but they would just beat you up. They were beat you up while you were using them. Being the tattoo artist, it would actually drive your hands numb through the vibration of this hard plastic. So then tattooing has been taking other changes here lately. This is a more modern featured tube, standard grip. It's 1-inch grip, which I've been using for a long time. This is just another variation from a different company. And now we got it down to where I'm using 1.25 inch grips that are more rubbery with a hard plastic clear tube that's actually very nicely injected molded. So now I'm down to using these. So that's just this little introduction about some tubes. We're going to go through this catalog, and I'm going to show you some different things through this catalog. And I've also got another one here. This was the early 80s catalog, and this one is from 88 and 89. I'm going to do the comparison between the two catalogs and show you the minor changes and the major changes that have occurred through the catalog and the ordering processes and the supplies available, and people realizing that some of the things that were being sold were a little outdated. This is just a very interesting subject for me. So we're going to go through this on the next video. So I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did like it, please comment, like, subscribe. Thumbs up's always appreciated. And until next time, people, keep slinging the ink.